Edition spin-off group Bell Biv DeVoe, also known as BBD, was formed in 1989 from 3 members of the original R&B pop quintet. Years earlier, Bobby Brown, Ralph Tresvant, Ricky Bell, Michael Bivins, and Ronnie DeVoe, all ranging in ages from 9 to early teens, came together to form the original lineup of New Edition in the Roxbury neighborhood of Boston, Massachusetts. Then, one fateful day, they gained the attention of famed producer Maurice Starr at a talent show. Before they knew it, they were in a recording studio, laying down the tracks that would appear on their debut album, 1983's Candy Girl. New Edition's nearly decade-long run throughout the 80s was full of many hits, with songs like Candy Girl, Cool It Now, and Mr. Telephone Man. Also during this time, the group experienced lineup changes, maturing from boys to men, and interest in wanting to branch out in new musical directions. The opportunity to do that last one came about for Ricky, Michael, and Ronnie during a hiatus New Edition had in 1989.
The idea for the album came after one of our shows, after the rounding up of the Heartbreak Tour, the New Edition Heartbreak Tour. Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, the producers that produced our last Heartbreak album with New Edition, pulled us 3 to the side, and they said to us, well, since Ralph was doing a solo album and since Johnny was doing his own thing, they said, well, why don't you 3 guys go on and get yourselves together and go in the studio and work on the project yourself.
Of course, no one was expecting much from the 3 former New Edition members who'd famously stayed in the background for much of that group's tenure. BBD's sound and image was going for something harder than what New Edition had done up to that point. Refraining from the tailored suits and dapper presentation of most 80s R&B, this act was going to set a new blueprint for R&B style with hip-hop swagger. Hitmakers like LA and Babyface, Teddy Riley, and Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis had dominated the R&B charts during the late 80s as New Jack Swing took over airwaves and dance floors with an infectious blend of tuneful R&B and hip-hop beats. BBD's manager, Hiram Hicks, knew about an up-and-coming producer named Elliot Strait, who went by the name Dr. Freeze. Hiram tapped Freeze for the BBD project, which by then already featured big names like the Bomb Squad. Bell Biv DeVoe, named after their respective surnames, released their debut album titled Poison in 1990 with MCA Records. Over the years, the project's been credited as pioneering the New Jack Swing sound of the early 90s, combining hip-hop, funk, soul, and pop music. The album reached number 5 on the Billboard 200, number 1 on the R&B hip-hop albums chart, and its title track became a top 5 hit, rising all the way to number 3 on the Hot 100.
Miss her, kiss her, love her, that girl is
The second single, Do Me, also went to number 3. The album spawned 3 other singles, BBD, I Thought It Was Me, When Will I See You Smile Again, and She's Dope, which all made it into the top 10 on the R&B chart, and no doubt played main roles in helping the album sell over 4 million copies.
We make our music, for enjoyment, for entertainment. We don't put it out to offend anybody. Our lyrics, it's the way we live, and people can relate to it, and that's why it's sold what it's sold. You want to add to that, Mike?
Yeah, and everybody knows everything is mental, and we'll probably continue to keep bringing up subjects that other people don't want to talk about, because that's the kind of group we are. We like to talk about things that people don't like to talk about, except we just put them on records.
The following year, the group came out with a remix album titled WBBD, Boot City, the Remix Album. It contains 12 songs, all of which were new remixes of the titles featured in their debut album. Relatively successful, it peaked at number 18 on the Billboard 200 and the R&B albums chart, going gold. In 1991, the group received the award for Best R&B Urban Contemporary Album of the Year, Group, Band, or Duo for Poison at the Soul Train Music Awards. They also received 3 American Music Awards, 2 in 1991 for Favorite Soul R&B Band, Duo, Group, and Favorite Soul R&B New Artist, as well as 1 in 1992 for Favorite Soul R&B Band, Duo, or Group. Not only were their fans feeling the music, but they also couldn't get enough of the group's mental.
All right, this is mental. Come on, yo. Come on, yo. Mental is something that we just do whenever we want to do it, how we want to do it, where we want to do it, because it's an attitude. It reflects in our clothes, and our songs, and our stage presence. To be mental is to have no limitations, to do whatever you feel when you wake up in the morning. Put on whatever you feel. You know, you don't have to always be color coordinated. Just make sure that it's nice.
The trio released their second album, Hootie Mac, in 1993. Seeing as how it was the follow-up to the group's immensely successful debut, expectations were relatively high for the project. Upon its release, however, it ultimately didn't attain the same level of success as that of Poison. Having said that, it still managed to achieve a top 20 placement on the 200 and top 10 on the R&B hip-hop albums chart. 2 singles also made it into the charts, Something in Your Eyes and Above the Rim, the former making it into the top 40 on the Hot 100, propelling the album to gold status. Another 8 years would pass before Bell Biv DeVoe would put out another album. In the meantime, the trio reunited with Bobby, Ralph, and newest member that came on board in 1987, Johnny Gill, to release another New Edition album titled Home Again. They also toured in support of the project. By 2001, BBD was finally ready to continue their legacy with their 4th album simply titled BBD. This time around, the project didn't make a dent on the Billboard 200 at all, and peaked at number 62 on the R&B hip-hop albums chart. In 2000, Ricky released a solo album called Ricardo Campana. He married Amy Correa in a double wedding with his New Edition groupmate Ralph in 2004. In the New Edition Story television miniseries, released in 2017, it was revealed for the first time that he had struggled with substance abuse in the mid-90s, using marijuana, cocaine, ecstasy, alcohol, and OxyContin to the point of losing his house and selling his personal property to satisfy his addictions. After entering rehab numerous times and experiencing numerous relapses, he told Lad TV in a 2018 interview that he'd been clean for the last 2.5 years. In the midst of all of BBD's success in the early 90s, Michael also had a lot going on behind the scenes, discovering, managing, and producing other artists with his management firm, Biv Entertainment. The company scored multiple successes with developing new acts such as Boyz II Men, Another Bad Creation, and MC Brains, in conjunction with Motown Records. As a result, Motown bankrolled Michael's own imprint, Biv 10 Records. While the label went on to score minor success with teen R&B groups Subway and 702, that's pretty much where things ended. The more prominent acts that he'd been responsible for, like Boyz II Men, were established before the commencement of his label and were instead signed to Motown directly, where they remained after the launch. In 2000, distribution of Biv 10 switched from Motown to Universal Records with the release of Bell Biv DeVoe's 3rd album, BBD. In 2002, the label was dismantled and folded into Motown. Michael married his wife Tisha in 2006. They share 4 daughters. Ronnie married Shamari Fears, lead singer of R&B group Black, also in 2006. They share twin sons. In 2015, he opened DeVoe Real Estate in Atlanta, Georgia, specializing in residential and commercial real estate sale. After another long hiatus, Bell Biv DeVoe came back in 2017 with their 4th album titled 3 Stripes. 3 singles in total were released: Run, Finally, and I'm Better. The album actually dropped the day after the New Edition Story finished airing. That same year, they also won the Soul Train Certified Award. Today, the trio continue to perform together as a group while also participating in New Edition reunions. In October 2023, they released a new single called Act Like You Know, featuring Rev Run. The song is co-written by LL Cool J, BBD, and Rev Run, and spotlights the legendary genre pioneers in the ultimate musical collaboration.